That's right. With your hosts, Andrew Romanella. I legitimately watched the entire women's triathlon the other day. I gotta tell you, that was exhilarating stuff. But I don't think I'm good enough in this spot based on my own personal mental health, so I can't continue. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of The Rome Show here on 12OZsports.com. Broadcast live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. I am your host, Andrew Romanella. I am with you for a slightly shortened show today. We'll be cutting out around 12:20, 12:25. Why, you may ask, is because Andrew has to work today in the baseball world, but we're not going to waste time on that. We're going to tell you that you need to hit the social media, The Rome Show, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. Follow us. Subscribe to it. Watch the videos. Stay up to date with everything Rome Show. Head to the website, RomeShowShop.com. Use promo code ROME at checkout. That's RomeShowShop.com. Promo code ROME at checkout. And then if you want to contact the show via the email, TheRomeShow1 at gmail.com. TheRomeShow1 at gmail.com. Let's get right into it. Because if we are getting off about 5 minutes early today, we want to make sure we give all the information to the people. So what's on the docket? The transfer portal. We will talk about that. The Oilers, they stay alive. They win game number 5 by a score of 5-3. And that series is headed back to Edmonton for game number 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals. The Mets win their 7th straight. We mentioned Mookie and Anthony Rizzo's injuries yesterday. Tiger Woods gets an exemption. And some more, plus daily picks, of course. So you got to stay with us for the full show. If you miss any of it, the Rome Show podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. Let's go. All right. So while I was recruiting yesterday, and actually, to be honest with you, while I've been recruiting all summer, a major topic has come up. And it's probably been the last 6 to 7 years since the transfer portal has been in existence, that this has become an increasingly larger problem for college athletics. Now, today when I discuss this situation with you, I'm going to speak primarily on college baseball, but I do believe the example of college baseball when it comes to NIL money, when it comes to the transfer portal, I think can be a microcosm of what's probably going on in a lot of other sports, right? And you say to yourself, well, Andrew, what's wrong with the transfer portal? Well, the problem with the transfer portal is that the transfer portal is really, really awesome for probably 5% of the people that go in there, okay? Let's use an easy round number, 10,000 kids in the transfer portal. Okay, and it's probably larger than that when you include every single sport. But let's just use the number 10 for the sake of easy math and for the sake of this conversation. So if you don't understand what the transfer portal is essentially the opportunity for a college athlete to have a free transfer without having to sit out a year or worry about anything that used to go on, right? Because the old rule was if you wanted to transfer and you were going up or in conference, you had to sit out the year. Well, now you can go from Alabama to Tennessee in 3 days from the end of your school year, and you are now all of a sudden an Alabama baseball player, football player, soccer player, whatever, and you got to sit out a year, okay? So the transfer portal opened the door for student athletes to be able to maneuver colleges, and the idea was when they are unhappy, right? The idea is gives the student an opportunity to leave one time for free whenever they want. And the adage or the conversation was generally around, well, all these coaches leave, right? These coaches leave for jobs every single year. Come in, get a job, leave a year later, recruit all these kids, say all these things. So, okay, understood. All right? So the transfer portal gets created. We think it's a great idea. It's going to allow all of these people to transfer and go to a school that they're happy, blah, 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 blah. Then the NIL happened, and bleep really hit the fan, okay? And here's why. Now you have entered an era in college athletics where players are treating themselves like they are professional. Players are treating themselves like they need to have a conversation with a head coach of a school, like they're the GM of a team, and certain things need to happen for that kid to go to that school. Or better yet, you're at a school, you got the love, right? But things aren't happening necessarily the exact way you wanted them, or you think the grass is greener, or you're dominating not at what is considered the quote-unquote highest level, so now you want to leave, okay? And so the transfer portal has now created an opportunity for student athletes to get up and leave whenever the hell they want. There is no commitment level whatsoever anymore with the college athlete. And you might say to yourself, well, Andrew, what are you talking about? How is that fair? If a coach can leave whenever they want, why can't a player? Okay, a few problems here. The first one is we're talking about the coach being a full-time employee, okay? This is their life. This is how they earn their rent. This is how they pay to buy food for their house. If they have children, this is how they support their children, okay? So much like everybody in the corporate world who's moving up the corporate ladder, in the quote-unquote real jobs, because people for some reason think coaching isn't a real job, even though it probably affects people more long-term in life than any other career possibly you could have. That's a tangent. Side note, we'll get to that on another day. So, the coach, this is their living. The college athlete, they spent time making this choice. Now, I get it. Coaches lie. People do messed up things. Not everything is... Okay. Let's just take the scums of it on both sides, from a player standpoint and from a coach standpoint, out of it real quick, and just take the black and white. Player gets recruited by a school, plays really well for a year at that school, goes in and tells their coach, hey, coach, I really appreciate you, but I want to go play at a higher level. And the coach is sitting there going, okay, but a year ago, you weren't good enough to play at that higher level. I recruited you. I showed you the love. I brought you here. We helped turn you into this player of the year guy, first team all conference guy. And now you're going to leave because you didn't get what you wanted a year ago. I gave you what you wanted. You got everything you wanted and needed, but now it's not good enough. So how as a coach, if you are not at an ACC school, SEC school, Big Ten school, how as a coach can you actually do your job anymore? I mean, I have to seriously sit here and think. Now, I don't know if our program is in the place yet where we're going to have people watching our players in the summertime saying, we got to tell this kid to leave Centenary. But if our goal is to get really good, which it is, that's the possibility of it's actually not even a possibility. That is what is happening right now. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing because you are creating such a bad stigma around college athletics. And I think it's also grossly sad that a lot of these kids in college have not been taught what commitment is. They have not been taught where your bread is buttered. Your bread is buttered by the person that got you here. So if you're a D3 athlete and you didn't have any D1 offers and you go play D3 sports and then you outperform what was supposed to happen there, you're the bad guy for now going into your coach's office and saying, all right, hey, coach, I want to go try a higher level. Well, hold on a second, Johnny. You're only hitting 350 because of my staff. You have 12 homers in my program. Last time I checked, 700 days ago, you were in the recruiting process, and not one person from that realm even wanted you. But now you're going to leave the school that actually made you great? Yeah, I'm out, coach. Because the grass is always greener right now. In the day of the transfer portal, the grass is always greener. In the day of the NIL, if I can get the exact same thing here, but they can pay me $10,000, I'm going there. Now, don't get me wrong. You should definitely get your money. But I don't think people, and this is where I want to finish this, I don't think people realize how much time and effort goes into a coach at the lower levels of college athletics recruiting a player. Okay? Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I've been on Vanderbilt's staff and I know what their recruiting process is. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm at Michigan and I'm out on the road with the guys at Michigan. No, I can just only tell you what my experiences are. But I can tell you I have experienced a lot of high-level programs recruiting. And I've also experienced a lot of lower-level programs recruiting what seems like even harder because they might not have as much athletic money or as nice of facilities or aren't in as high of a conference. But that kid could help them win, and that kid could change the program for history, change the coach's life. All of those things. You put so much time and effort into recruiting these kids, especially. It's easy to recruit a kid to Rutgers. Sorry, not sorry. You're fighting them against all the other Big Ten, ACC, SEC schools. Yeah, it's hard because you want them to stay in Jersey and not go play big-time baseball somewhere else. But you know that kid can play at your school. It's a lot harder to go on the road 75 times in a summer, go watch 42 soccer players to come play Division III soccer for you. You find one, you fall in love with him, you reach out to him, you go 4 different games, you follow him for 6 freaking months, you tour him, you deal with the admissions process, you do all that stuff, right? Then they come into your program, you take them from a baby to a more mature man, and all of a sudden, they succeed. And you're like, this is awesome. We worked so hard for this kid. This kid's a freaking dude. We knew he would change our program. Then after that really great year, he comes in your office in your exit meeting and says, hey, coach, I want to enter the transfer portal. And you say, Bobby, why? You were just named first team all conference, right? You're hitting PRs in the gym. You're dominating the classroom. You have a great group of friends here. We are on the precipice of winning in this program. Why are you leaving, Bobby? Well, because I want to go see if I can play Division I baseball. I want to go see if I can get NIL money. I just want to see if I can go to a better place. And it's like, okay, but you were really good in this system. And have you ever thought that in this system, you will ultimately be the best possible version of yourself? And then that kid just leaves and there's not a thought on what did the coach do to even get me here? And by the way, let's go back to it being the coach's job. That same player that could be leaving right now to go try and play at a higher level of baseball because he didn't get the looks he wanted to when he was coming out of high school, that could be who the coach was building their program around. Like our catcher was named Player of the Year last year. He's going to be a senior next year. I can promise you we're planning on him coming back. So if he was to go into the summer and then some jabroni from one of these schools, which is what's going on right now, which is also embarrassing, like grow up, be better at your job, recruit people when they have the chance to be recruitable. But that's a whole nother conversation. These jabronis from these bigger schools are like, why are you playing at Centenary? Dude, you hit 400 last year. You were the player of the year in your conference. Look at your body. Look at your speed. Look at your size. You should go play at school. And it's like, no, he shouldn't. Because do you know the backstory of that kid? Do you know where he came from? Do you realize that his freshman year he hit 190, his sophomore year he hit 260? Like, he didn't get to that point without me, without that guy as coach, without that guy as coach. And I would argue maybe the team he's on. So it's an epidemic. I don't want to use the word pandemic because it brings back bad scars. It's an epidemic. And the transfer portal, so be it great for probably 5 to 10% of the schools and the students, is miserable for 90 to 95%. Miserable. And it is because this belief that the grass is greener for these kids, that they should now go to a D3 school, succeed for a year or two, and then hit the transfer portal. That's not right. Especially when you're dealing with people's jobs. This is my job. This is my career. Much like mom and dad are a financial advisor, or mom and dad own a restaurant, right? Or mom and dad work for a shipping company, or mom and dad own a Staples franchise. It doesn't matter. If that's their means to an end, that is their means to an end. And in sports, for a coach, the players are the means to the end. And coaches spend a lot of freaking time trying to recruit those players. Let me tell you this before I head to a commercial break here and remind you that you got to support our show at RomeShowShop.com, promo code Rome. Saturday, I was at a university from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Watched 8 baseball games. On Sunday, I was at the same university from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 8 more baseball games. On Monday, I headed over to Flemington, New Jersey, which is like centralish, I guess. I don't know. And I watched 7.5 more hours of baseball, then left that place, drove back to my university, and watched another 2 hours of baseball. Yesterday, 8 hours of baseball. Today, once I get off this show in 10 minutes, I'm getting in my car, heading to Rutgers University, and I'm working their prospect camp. Okay? Tomorrow. My point here is this. Why am I doing all of that? Because I'm not the flashy school. I'm not the school that kids want to go to right off the jump. So I have to get in front of them. I have to see as many as I can. I have to talk to as many as I can. But what's also messed up is I'm going to spend all that time trying to find these kids. Let's say I find the best possible kid for our program, Steele, so talented. Dominates for a year, rookie of the year in our conference. Woo! Cyclones win the championship. We dominate. Yes, let's go. We're going into the summertime. Like, okay, how do we get to the College World Series now? How do we go all the way? And then that kid comes into your office and says, hey, coach, I really appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, but I'm going to hit the transfer portal, try and play at a higher level. Wow. And then I think back to the day that I cut my radio show short. Or I think back to the random Tuesday in June when I ran around in 100-degree weather like a chicken with my head cut off to watch this kid. I think about those times I'd text or call. And you work so hard to get these kids to your program just for them to say, I'll enter the transfer portal, coach. Good luck moving forward. What you see on TV with basketball and football is not it. It's not it. The transfer portal is not good for 95% of college programs in this country because 95% of those programs aren't what you see on ESPN or are not what you see on TV. Right before this commercial break, I would like to say something that is sadly a little somber, but needs to be said because the man was such a great person, was a great ambassador for the game, and lived a very fantastic life. Sadly, yesterday, Willie the Kid Mays passed away at the age of 93. Willie Mays, one of the greatest baseball players to ever play the game, and from what I've ever read, one of the better people that has ever played the game, played 20-plus years of professional baseball. This was said about him yesterday. Today we lost a true legend, Chairman of the Giants, Greg Johnson, said. In the pantheon of baseball greats, Willie Mays' combination of tremendous talent, keen intellect, showmanship, and boundless joy set him apart. A 24-time All-Star, the Say Hey Kid is ultimate forever giant. He had a profound influence not only on the game of baseball, but on the fabric of America. He was an inspiration and a hero who will forever be remembered and deeply missed. During his career, Mays played from 51 to 73. Most of them with the Giants, made 24 All-Star teams, won 2 NL MVPs, had 12 Gold Gloves, ranked 6th all-time in homers with 660, 7th in runs scored with 2,068, 12th in RBIs with 1,909, and 13th in hits with 3,293. Willie Mays passes away at age 93. Rest in peace, legend. You deserve all the praise you're going to get this week. We'll be back after this commercial break.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Yeah, it's the Rome Show here at 12ouncesports.com. Broadcast live, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Get us on the social media, The Rome Show on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. Head to the website, RomeShowShop.com. Promo code Rome. And, of course, shoot us an email, theromeshow1@gmail.com. Let's continue Last night, the Edmonton Oilers kept the series alive. That is right. The Edmonton Oilers defeated the Florida Panthers by a score of 5-3. Yeah, that's right. There were 4 different goal scorers for Edmonton in this game. No more important than their highest point getter. That is one, Mr. Connor McDavid. McDavid had 2 goals and 2 assists. Connor McDavid has been tearing it up, not in a goal scoring standpoint for the Edmonton Oilers pretty much all year with the assists, but on a day when the Oilers needed it more than anything, McDavid comes through. Great job by Stuart Skinner coming out in this game, 29 saves on 32 shots. It was not the same for Sergei Bobrovsky on the other side, who gave up 4 goals in 19 and had 19 saves. The Panthers, they got some contributions, but just not enough. Rodriguez and Tkachuk both had a point and an assist each, but it was not enough. They tried. There was a comeback attempt. You saw it. You're like, okay. Edmonton was leading 3-1 with about 11:30 left, and here comes Florida, and you're like, oh, and then no. Shuts the door, 5-3 victory for the Edmonton Oilers, and I think you now will look at this Stanley Cup way differently. No matter what happens in Game 6, the fact that the Oilers were able to get Game 4 and get Game 5, get Game 5 and get Game 4, get Game 5, I was right the first time, and force a Game 6, really shows a lot about this team. And hey, by the way, 4 teams have done this before. 4 teams in National Hockey League history have come back from 3-0 down. So this is not something that hasn't happened before. And if there's a team that could do it, I believe it's a team that needs firepower. Because without firepower, obviously you can't put a lot of pucks in the net. In the last 2 games, the Edmonton Oilers have scored 13 goals. In the first 3 games against the Panthers combined, they scored 11. So in 2 games, they got 13. In the first 3, they had 11. Something's starting to click for this team. And if you're Florida, you have to find a way. Like, it doesn't matter where you win this thing. And not that it matters ever anyway. Just win the Stanley Cup. But you don't want to come home for Game 7. You got to get this thing done. Win it on the road in Canada. Have a blast in Canada. Then come home to Florida. But if Edmonton wins Game 6, wow, do I feel a whole lot different about whether or not they can win Game 7. Let's continue. Some baseball news. The Metropolitans won their 7th straight. The Twins won their 7th straight. The Mets are starting to figure it out, man. Hitting, pitching, full team performances, very good stuff. The Twins, I think we all thought they were going to be pretty good, but they're figuring it out as well. So those are the 2 teams in Major League Baseball with the hot streaks. Mookie Betts fractures his hand. He's out for like 8 weeks. I wonder what that's going to do to the Dodgers. And Anthony Rizzo fractures his right arm. Both freak injuries. Yeah, freak injuries. Mookie Betts got hit with a ball, and Anthony Rizzo collided with somebody. So sometimes that's just the way it is, man. Like, you could want to say you want to be injury prone all year, and then something happened like Aaron Judge last year, runs into the fence in LA, right? And then, things like this, you get hit by a baseball. It's just the nature of the game. And so some Major League Baseball teams, as you're starting to get into the dog days of summer, starting in July, are going to be dealing with some serious injuries, and I think that's going to cause a fluctuation. There's no primary team that's a favorite right now, at least in my opinion. Major League Baseball is wide open. I think it's the team that's going to stay the healthiest, especially on the pitching side long term, that's going to make a run at the postseason. All right, last story here, and last segment here, and then we're going to get out of here. It's our favorite segment of the day, though, and that would be your daily picks. Fruit cups, if I may. All right, we're going to make this quick because I'm up against my own clock. I got to get to work. I had Matthew Tkachuk 1+ point, nailed it. I had Bobrovsky 24.5 saves over, did not nail it. And I had no goal in the first 10 minutes of the hockey game. They scored in the 6th minute. So I was 1-2 yesterday, which is not great, but that's okay. We keep trucking along. Tonight, we are going to go with a little WNBA action. We're going to take A'ja Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces with 25+ points. A'ja Wilson has scored 25+ points in 8 of her last 9 games. However, the one that she scored under 25 in, that was last game. She had an 8-game streak of 25+ or more. On the year, A'ja Wilson's only scored under 25 points 3 times. So After scoring 21, I'm taking A'ja Wilson on the bounce back. She's the best scorer in the WNBA, in my opinion, right now. So I'm taking her on the bounce back. Las Vegas is 6-6. They need something here. She comes out and she does it for her squad. We go to Indiana. Caitlin Clark. That's right. Caitlin Clark has the Indiana Fever on a 2-game winning streak. They play the Washington Mystics tonight. They're 2-12. They're not very good. And last time Caitlin Clark played this Mystics team, she scored 30. Now, she's coming off like an 11-point game. So give me Caitlin Clark 20 plus, okay? I'm actually inclined to parfait those two together. And then if you really want to get frisky, give me Indiana minus 4.5, because even though they're a 5-10 team, they've won 2 in a row. The Mystics are just that bad at 2-12. So I got Indiana minus 4.5 against Washington. Caitlin Clark 20 plus, A'ja Wilson 25 plus. I would possibly parfait those together. If you don't think that's the right move, don't. Go individual. I don't really care, but those are our daily picks. And this has been The Rome Show here, 12ozsports.com, broadcast live, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. I will be back on Friday. Yep, we will probably take the day off tomorrow. We'll be working all the way up until 11 o'clock tonight, so I don't know how possible it is. But no matter what, we have the podcast. Tune in wherever you get your podcast. I'm Andrew Romanella saying peace.
Thank you for listening.